An officer from the Pacific Warning Centre earlier who suggested that actually this region is in far better shape now to deal with what we're looking at now, a fairly substantial tsunami underway, that they're in a better position to cope with this.
Well, it's difficult to know how anybody could cope with this wall of water that continues to pour over the fields. Let's talk to Chris Ryan. He's head of the Australian Tsunami Warning Centre in Melbourne. Chris, can you just tell us a little bit about how a tsunami forms and what sort of things we are seeing now on the Japanese coastline and beyond?
Yeah, well, a tsunami is formed by the seafloor moving vertically due to a large earthquake. You need a very energetic earthquake to really make a significant change in the sea level, and we've certainly seen that today with magnitude 8.8 is a very intense earthquake. And that has pushed the sea level up above the rupture in the sea floor, and that wave then propagates outward from that rupture across the ocean in all directions.
When you're seeing the pictures that we're seeing on the screen now, the force of the water, can you just give us an indication of just how strong that force of water coming in on land is? Nothing can stand up to it.
No, that's exactly right. We've had observations already measured on the Japanese east coast of waves of 7.3 metres above normal sea level. There may well be higher spots where there aren't gauges, but that is an enormous wave, and what people have to bear in mind is that a tsunami wave is quite different from a normal wind wave, which goes up and down in a matter of seconds. The tsunami wave has a wavelength that can be hundreds of metres, so it's an enormous volume of water. It rises 7 metres and may stay up as water pours in at that height for 10 to 15 minutes before it goes down again. So it's an enormous volume of water, and that's why the force is so great.
We've seen a number of devastating earthquakes over the past few weeks. Only a couple of weeks ago, the terrible earthquake in Christchurch, now this in Tokyo. Why are we seeing so much seismic activity now?
I don't know that anybody could answer that. Unfortunately, we don't know how to forecast when earthquakes are going to happen. This is all around the Ring of Fire, which has existed around the Pacific for a very long time. Its activity fluctuates with time. I'm not a seismologist, but I don't think anybody is really capable of predicting when these peaks in activity are going to happen. We just have to react as quickly as we can when it does happen.
Well, Chris, you are from the Australian Tsunami Warning Centre. I'm just wondering just how much warning it is possible to give. What sort of timings do you have to tell people, you know what, a tsunami is on its way? Is it seconds? Is it minutes? What?
Yeah, no, it's certainly not seconds. It's a sad fact that it does take some minutes for the earthquake signal to travel through the Earth's crust to reach the seismographs and for that information about the magnitude of an earthquake to be assessed. And that's usually around 5 to 10 minutes is what's needed to do that accurately. Then, of course, warning has to be formulated and distributed. So it's very, very difficult to give useful warnings to anybody who's less than 30 minutes tsunami travel time away from the earthquake. Tsunamis travel very rapidly.
Sorry to interrupt you. This is Martine. Australia's been battered by a series of natural disasters of late. How worried are you that this tsunami could extend to the Australian area?
Our assessment on the current magnitude of the earthquake is that there is no threat to Australia, thankfully. We're going to miss out on this one by the looks of it. Although just one caveat on that is that with very large earthquakes, the magnitude estimate does tend to rise with time. And if we establish that the energy in this earthquake is a little bit higher than what we currently believe, we may see some minor wave threats on parts of the Australian coast. But at the moment, at magnitude 8.8, there is no threat to Australia. Unfortunately, that's not true for many other countries which are closer to the epicentre.
And we're talking of a magnitude of 8.9. How does that compare with other earthquakes? I'm thinking in particular of the Boxing Day earthquake and tsunami that led to so much death and destruction in 1984. How does this compare?
It's smaller. That was around 9.1, 9.2. It doesn't sound like a very big difference, but it's what we call logarithmic scale. That means that the energy in the Boxing Day tsunami was around 2 to 3 times as great as this one. So that was still a much larger event. This one looks like it's about the same as the large Chile earthquake from February last year. That was around 8.8 as well. And as we know, that caused quite a lot of destruction on the Chile coast and measurable tsunamis on the other side of the Pacific, in fact on the Japanese coast as well.
Chris, can we just interrupt you for a second, because the pictures that we're seeing now live from Sendai, which is in the east of the country, show another very large wave approaching. We have been seeing some quite astonishing pictures of fires in the city of Sendai, and this wall of water, and then the sludge, which really takes everything in its path. Buildings have been shaking, but that is an incredible sight. A wall of water now about to hit once again the coastal town of Sendai and causing yet more destruction. And you have to say, seeing the pictures that we've seen, death as well, because you've seen lorries and ships just being carried away by this wall of water.
Indeed. Is Chris Ryan still with us? Chris, looking at the volume of water currently, and we've seen earlier these torrents of mud and debris sweeping over the north of the country, is what we're presuming. How long do you think, and is it absolutely certain, that this is going to move further down the country and affect Tokyo itself and other parts of the south?
Yes, tsunamis move very quickly and will be propagating down the Japanese coast. I haven't seen the domestic warnings that the Japanese authorities issue. They have a very sophisticated tsunami warning system domestically in Japan, and I'm sure they've issued warnings for all of the coastal places, particularly along the east coast of the island there. But the effect will be even broader than that.
And as we were saying earlier, Chris, we were saying that the area now under threat is a vast area around the Pacific, but a lot of these communities and states are island states, aren't they?
Yes, that's